Good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to On the Mark alongside Mark Papa. I'm Gary Byron. Mark is the president of Financial Resources Group. They're out of Glastonbury, Connecticut. You can find them online at www.frplan.com. That's F as in Frank, frplan.com. Write this phone number down. I don't want you to miss any of the show. We got a really good one this morning here, but write this down so that you can call it at the end of the show. 860-657-8380. I'll repeat that for you. 860-657-8380. And if you missed any of those points of contact, I will repeat them at least a couple of more times before the show is over. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Great. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. As always.
How was your week there, my friend?
It's been busy. You know,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, it's just been a very busy, been a good time, a good busy, very healthy busy.
I saw a picture of you online. Oh, maybe it was on social media, Facebook, perhaps. You were at Ruth Chris.
Yeah, that was for the Roth Blueprint. That was the second one that I did.
Yeah, I remember you did the first one. We've already talked about that. How was the second one?
It went great. Did you
have an overflow room, or did you schedule that a little?
We kept the schedule tight. I did give people an opportunity who were on the wait list. I did call them for the last one and asked them if they wanted to come. And we were able to get a few people to trickle in from the other one because I don't want to shut anybody out. So I always give people an opportunity. If you were waitlisted, I call them first. And if they don't call me back within, I would say, a couple days or so, then I just move on, and then people will register online or they register through the 800 number, and those people filled up the room really quick. The 28th is fully booked already. So that's the next one coming up, October 28th. Fully booked,
wow.
Full capacity, 40 people coming, and I'm excited to tell everybody about the 6 different tax traps or the 6 different, what I want to call tax snowballs that people face when they have to take their required minimum distributions. Extremely powerful, Gary. No product sales in this meeting. I don't talk about some fancy product or some investment that's going to save their life. We just talk about the facts. And these are things that many, many people are not being, or these conversations are not being discussed yet with their current advisor. So people are excited. In addition to that, I also talk to people how to lower their tax bill in retirement. I show people, I offer them a free Roth Blueprint at no cost or obligation, which again is a way to reduce your taxes by up to 97% during your retirement. We also can do Roth conversions. I'll show you a strategy that will do a Roth conversion, allow you to stay in your current tax bracket and not reduce your balance at the end of the conversion. So that's another one.
Wow.
Third one, for those people that want to come out of pocket, I have 30 different tax strategies available through Glastonbury Tax Advisors. One of those 30 tax strategies that will even help accelerate their Roth conversion more because it mitigates the taxes almost to zero. And I have a way of doing that. And so for those people who you want to just keep reading online and Googling things and, struggling to figure it out, all you need to do is come to one of my events or give me a call.
And Glastonbury Tax Advisors is another business that you own.
It's a totally separate LLC from Financial Resources Group.
By the way, I mean, this is not just a free steak dinner. What you're going to obtain from this surpasses the Ruth Chris dinner. So, and this is the feedback that we've been receiving from those who attend. All right, I want to get right into this because it's kind of I would imagine it's a lengthy answer here. So I really wanted to know, and I'm hoping you can talk about this whole checklist that you
Sure.
always refer to. Why? First of all, answer first why this checklist is so important, and then please just walk us through what this checklist is all about.
All right. Well, this is part 2 of what I'm offering people who come to my events, people who schedule appointments, people who call into the radio show. The full checklist is really the most important facet. It's great if I can get you a Roth Blueprint and I can do that, lower your taxes in retirement. But the full checklist review, what I say is, in order to do the most effective Roth Blueprint, we need to do a full checklist review. And everyone's like, well, what's the catch? And I'm like, well, there is no catch. That's how I operate. There's 21 different points of the full checklist review. It used to be called the 21-point checklist. We called it the full checklist review. They changed the name for some reason because it was just easier to pronounce. I have no idea why they changed it. But bottom line is, the full checklist review is an extremely thorough scrubbing of your non-financial assets and your financial assets. So very, very comprehensive things. We'll talk about things like that have to do with their family, things that will help you in a medical situation, things that help you with your home insurance, ways to, all sorts of different tax saving strategies. So it's a lot. It's a lot of work for me, but everybody who goes through it knows a lot more about themselves and is left with things that that had never ever been considered, but are things that can jump up out of the weeds and bite them when they least expect it. So I want to talk about each one of those things today, Gary. We'll maybe split it into a couple shows so people can. Yeah,
I was looking. I took a cursory look at it before we went to air, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to get through all this. This might be a to be continued into next week.
And the way I look at things, Gary, is anything worth doing easy. Right? Oh. Absolutely not, right?
It's not worth doing that. Usually the things that are worthwhile, there's a little challenge to it.
So
it makes it worth it.
Let's say I can go get an online certificate for something, and it makes me, I'm a specialist at one little thing. But, it doesn't necessarily make me, somebody who can go get a PhD in something, right? Which is extremely deep. This is a deep dive, but this is what everybody at these seminars have been starving for. Not, in the past they say, oh, they're starving for the steak dinner. No, people are starving for this information, Gary. They're starving for it. They're not getting it.
I believe
one of 150 advisors in the country trained to do this, and people are not getting this type of level of service in detail in their financial lives that they need. And that's exactly why, when I don't tell anyone they need anything, I get them to tell me why they need it. So we can get into that if you like, and we can talk about maybe.
Sure.
I'll explain when someone comes into my office how we actually operate. So
let's
first
start.
thing, okay, perfect. So the first thing we do, Gary, is we bring you into what we call our goals meeting. Okay. So if you ask yourself, if you were going to sit down with an advisor, the first thing they ask you is, what can I do for you? But are you going to want to know a little bit about what have them know what your goals are? Like, where are we going down the path?
Of course, I want to share that with them.
Yeah, you want to share that with them. And
that's why I'm there.
Yeah, exactly. That advisor should be very eager to ask you the question is like, what are your goals? What are you here? What are, I learned from a very, very world-renowned expert, one of the things he would say in his very first meeting is, what are 3 things you'd like to get out of this meeting? 3 things. That's all I want to know. 3 things you want to get out of this meeting. And people will start spilling their guts. They tell you right away, these are the things we're really worried about. Now, you don't use that as a way to go in and, hey, I need to sell them something now. I could solve your problem right now, and go in and sell them something. You say, great, that's excellent information. And then then you work through things. So what we do, we bring you in, we talk to you about the goals, and I give you an overview about how we operate. Okay, I'll let them know that, hey, I'm sure you have a lot of questions from the seminar. We went through lots of detail, lots of information. I'm sure you have lots of questions. And I let them know that, Gary, today is just about learning about you and learning about the facts. And I'll let them know that today is just simply, you're probably really busy in your life, right? Now,
everybody is.
Like everybody, especially when people retire. Mm-hmm. Do you have friends whose parents are taking care of grandkids?
Of course.
Are they going back and forth to doctor's appointments?
Absolutely.
Are they running back and forth? Are they going on vacation? They're doing lots of different things. So they're super busy people. And what you find out is they tend to be just as busy as when they were working. So we'll say, we thank you for your time for coming in because you're extremely busy, knowing, and, as a courtesy to those people, what I'm willing to do is donate my time, all right, to them for this particular meeting. And let them know that, this is me donating my time to help you. And then they'll ask me, I'll say, in terms of how I get paid, I let them know right up front that how we get paid normally. And I'll say, for there's some people who come through our office, Gary, it's pretty interesting. They don't need a lot done. They're good. So if everything that I go through, if I do a full checklist review on them, and I find out that they're paying the lowest amount of fees possible, they're paying the least amount of taxes legally possible, they have all their ducks in a row, they have their will, their trust, their home insurance is reviewed once a year. They have all these things done, and there might be one little thing that needs to be fixed. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to
fix it.
Going to help them fix it, and then move on their merry way. So that's a good chunk, good percentage of the people who come through. And then the other half of the people typically who come through need something, right? And depending, I'll let them know how much work you need is how we're going to basically, the less work you need, then obviously the lower the fee, and the more work you need, then the bigger the fee. But typically speaking, most people are okay with that answer. And then I'll say, there's other times where we may get paid by a third-party company that, on something that might be senior-centric, so they may pay us. But you don't have to worry about, that money coming, out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Right. So we just kind of explained it all, but it really all depends, because there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all strategy, because that one-size-fits-all suit, Gary, fits how many people? One person, right? And so it's going to look sloppy on everybody. So we like to go through the full checklist with each and every client, and they're going to find unique things in their system, in their things that are unique to them, where your neighbor might have one thing done, you might have another thing done. So it's going to be different. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. So the first thing we do, we go through goals in the goals meeting. So this is kind of a funny question when I ask to people on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being least important, 5 being most important. Okay. The first question is that how important it is that you pass along, you're an inheritance to your kids on a scale of 1 to 5. And what do you think people typically tell me on that
5?
one? They say 5?
No? Well, some people don't have kids, right?
Yeah, some people who don't have kids.
How important is it? 4. I don't know.
So it's really fun, because they'll say 4 or 5. Then so usually they'll say, with the baby boomers, they'll tell me, oh, no, we're going to have fun with the money. We want to spend it. We worked hard to save it. We want to take that money and go on vacation. We want to have fun with it. And I'll say, well, at the end, though, if there is anything left, how do you want that to go? He goes, oh, we want to make sure it goes to our kids. Yeah. And then usually they'll kind of back off and say, well, instead of it's not going to be a 5, but, let's make it a 3. We want to leave them something. Right.
Okay.
So we'll go through that. And that's kind of like one of the first questions. And then, we'll also ask them, how important is it that you pay less in taxes? And then people will say
5.
That's a 5, right?
Yeah.
Almost every time. And then I'll say to them, now, if there was a way to actually pay 70% less on your IRA withdrawals, is that something you'd want to learn about or you'd want to see? Right? A way to pay up to 70% less. Yeah, they'll tell me, oh, yeah, I want to see that, right?
Of course, who wouldn't?
And then we'll ask them, the next question is, would you like more income? And they'll say, well, yeah, that's kind of a trick question, but it's a 5. And then on the like more income, I'll say, now, if there's a way I can show you 25% more income and actually lessen your chance of running out of money, how would that be? And they'll say, well, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. And I'll say, well, yeah, 25% more income and lower your chance of running out of money. And I have a compliant explanation of how we do that and how it works. So there should be no alarm bells going off. So we also say that, we think that's an important thing, because, again, what if you knew your whole life? Do you want to find out later on in life that you could have been taking out more and, paying less in taxes, or taking out more?
The earlier you know that, the better.
Yeah, exactly. So then, and then another question we'll ask is, how about making sure your money lasts throughout a lifetime?
Well, that's paramount. That's probably the most significant. That's probably got to be the number one concern that people have when they sit down with somebody like you.
Right, exactly. And again, we'll say to them,
outliving your savings.
Right. Who wants making their money throughout the lifetime. And then we'll also ask them, on a scale of 1 to 5, would you like to have your assets protected from losses? Now,
of course.
And people will say, usually, 4 or 5. Sometimes you get people that are just really aggressive, And they'll say, well, maybe a 3. I'm okay with risk. And I'll say, so I'll ask them, well, how much are you willing to lose? Right? Because no one will tell you. Well, they'll say, well, 20%. All right. And then how soon would you want that money back? And they'll say, well, right away. Then I'll say, so do you want to reconsider that question? Because if you really think about it, 20% on $1 million account, you're down to $800,000. And you have to take your money out on a 20% loss. That's a big deal. So, we'll talk about that. So most people will tell me that's a 5. And then so we also say, we would like protecting yourself from catastrophic long-term care costs. Where does that stand? And you believe it or not, people who've had to deal with that are very concerned, but people who haven't had to deal with it aren't concerned. Really interesting.
Makes sense.
So anybody listening, if you ever had to take care of an elder parent, what is your sensitivity to wanting to protect your assets? Because there's 2 ways to do it. You have your assets, and then there's obviously long-term care insurance, and people hate long-term care insurance, so they want to do things to protect their assets. But you need a little bit of both. So we'll ask those questions. So we want to, so we ask them through these different goals. Okay, and depending on how they answer the goals is then how we structure the next meeting. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Let me just do this really quickly, though. Then you can continue. Folks, you are listening to On the Mark. Along with Mark Papa, I'm Gary Byron. You can learn more about Financial Resources Group, where Mark is owner of, and on their website at www.frplan.com and 860-657-8380. Again, I would say give them a call right at the end of this show, 860-657-8380. Please continue, Mark.
Yeah, and Gary, one other thing on paying less in taxes, too. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, okay, you're taxed on your wages, you're taxed on your income, you're taxed on rental income, and they're not understanding how they're actually taxed, even on their dividends. So, for example, you have 2 types of dividends: ordinary dividends and qualified dividends. And what we'll say to them is, how would you like to find a way to pay less than 1% on your investment income or less than 2% on your investment income versus the 15 or 20% most other people
you got my
paying.
attention, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's a way to do that. And it's a very tax-efficient strategy. So, taxes is also a very big deal, I think, with a lot of the folks. So then what we do is we actually move on to the next phase in the meeting as we start gathering assets. So I'm going to start asking them, Gary, okay, the first thing we're going to say is, do you have a will in place? They're going to say, a lot of people, you'd be shocked at how many people don't even have a will. Or if they have a will,
well, how
Gary,
old are they?
I'm talking in their 50s and 60s, maybe even sometimes late 60s. Then they'll say whoa, that's something we need to get done. We're looking for a lawyer. We're looking for an attorney. We're looking for somebody to help us. So I said, okay, well, that's fine. We have a network of attorneys, or we have a do-it-yourself version, which is becoming less and less do-it-yourself because of artificial intelligence and the way this thing's being built out. But we have a system called the Stately, where anyone that comes on board with us can actually do their will or trust on their own.
Are more people opting for a trust than a will?
That's a good question. So we'll ask if they have a trust in place, and then we'll basically, as part of the checklist review, I'll explain that process, how we basically help people determine that. People ask the question. So on our website, under estate planning, people can go to www.frplan.com. They can go to estate planning, and there's a 2-minute quiz that actually helps you answer whether you need a will or a trust.
Oh, yeah. Right on your website.
Right on the website, www.frplan.com. Go to estate planning, and it goes right to do you need a will or trust, and it'll actually help you answer those questions.
Very nice. I'm going to do that. So please continue with this checklist because I'm so intrigued with it.
Okay. So that would be, do you have a will in place? Obviously. So we talk about a little bit about the estate planning. The next thing we want to know about is the type of insurance they have. So we want to know, has your, about their, excuse me, let me take a step back. Durable power of attorney. So when was the last time you had your durable power of attorney up to date? Most, and people don't even aren't even
Probably
aware
don't even know what it is. Yeah,
that their power of attorney could according to their bank brokerage firm, be stale. They also don't understand the fact that their power of attorney may not work with their bank or brokerage firm, that they may need their own special form. But one of the other things that we also bring to their attention is that in that meeting is that their power of attorney, well, actually in the full checklist meeting, their power of attorney doesn't work with Social Security, the IRS, or the government agencies, Medicare. So imagine that. Imagine that. So your Medicare and your bank or your Social Security, God forbid, we talk about how there are at least what they call a keystroke error at Social Security, that their perfectly legal durable power of attorney doesn't even work with Social Security. So that's another thing we show people. So we want to know, when's the last time that will was taken care of. We're going to go through also if they have their medical power of attorney, if they have that, and when was that last up to date? Is it, someone they still trust? Or remember, this is someone making a decision on your life, Gary. So it's someone that that's still really willing to do that. So we go through all those that list. Then also filing their medical power of attorney electronically. Talk about that. And then, go just through things like simple things, life insurance, home insurance, umbrella liability, and then umbrella liability in the event they get hit in lawsuits and things of that nature. So we're going through a lot of things, or just a few things, Gary.
This is tremendous.
Yeah. And do I sound like I'm in a rush to sell something to them, or
you don't sound salesy at all? Actually, you're just providing an abundance of information.
Yeah,
it's more informative, actually.
Yeah, and again, it's for the what if. So we're going through that first meeting. We're going to gather all that data so that we can do the most effective full checklist review for them possible. So I actually asked them at the end of the meeting, did you bring a copy of your, a summary of your home insurance? Did you bring a summary of your umbrella liability? Did you bring a copy of your power of attorney? Because there's so many different things. We actually have a durable power of attorney review checklist that we scrub through that shows all the different pitfalls of that you could potentially have if you just have a vanilla durable power of attorney and that lawyer didn't go through all the different aspects. Sometimes it might have been rushed, or it might have just been your lawyer who's but I'm not saying anything bad about lawyers. But there are certain things in there, are you able to roll over your 401k? Can the person give? Can they do this? There's all sorts of different little nuances that we want to scrub through to make sure. And we can't even get it done at that next meeting. That's typically when someone becomes a client. We'll say, let's go through this power of attorney and make sure we know it works with Bank of America, if that's your bank, or it works with Wells Fargo, or whomever your bank is, and let's find out what those rules are. Because if you become, God forbid, you being incapacitated, it would be a disaster for you and your family if they needed to get money out and they couldn't.
Okay.
So we're scrubbing through all those documents. We're asking for copies of that. Now, it sounds very onerous, and it's a lot of work to do.
It sounds tedious.
It's tedious, but why do you think it's the right thing to do?
Well, listen, the more information that you have about your client, the better you're able to serve them and their needs.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll not only serve them in their needs, but we're able to truly uncover some of the things that may not be that could jump up and bite them, and that they may not even be aware of. So that happens quite often. So then we'll go through. Then we're going to start asking them what their assets are, and they'll give us a list of assets sometimes. And if they forget a statement or two, we'll just have them follow up through a secure portal or secure system, or just drop it off to the office. But we want to see the statements. There is a major company out there that I want to let people know about this too. And in my meeting, I'm not going to mention their name, but they manage about $10 trillion and
$10 trillion,
and they do lots of commercials. And there's in the fine print.
Wow.
No, not even a hedge fund. It's a major brokerage firm. In the fine print, they tell you that they reserve the right to lend your stock to short sellers, and you don't even know about it. And you actually, in order to get out of that, you have to opt out. So we always like
But how do you know to opt out if they don't even tell you about it?
Because it's in the fine print, Gary.
Always read the fine print, my friends.
This is why you got to come see me. And then I'll show people in that fine print why it's so important, because what can happen is you could be lending that big dividend payer, they could be to short sellers, and then you get a taxed on not the dividend but ordinary income. It's called the payment in lieu. And I've seen that happen before, where people, like one guy, actually this is kind of a scary story, but he ended up with like a $9,000 tax bill as a result, and he had no idea what was going on. And he had to pay it. Yeah. So that was that. So then once we gather all the information, Gary, I'll ask people if they have any more questions for me. Is there anything more I can answer for them? And they'll typically tell me at the end of the hour, no, we're good. And then I'll say, okay, so it's going to take about 7 to 10 days to put this together for you. So let's schedule an appointment. Go home, think of some good questions. We'll move this forward at your pace. And, let's have you back in 7 to 10 days. And we're going to go through the next phase. I'll let them know that it's safe to book a couple hours for the meeting, but it does go quick. And it goes by pretty quick, but to book a couple hours, and we are going to scrub through all these little things. Oh. Now, Gary, the main thing I want to say to the audience, for those of you who do go to these dinner seminars, I know you get the mailers. I know you showed me a couple that you get, Gary. We're starting to get older now. That's a little depressing that I'm getting these mailers from estate planning attorneys and financial advisors. But this is not a vanilla meeting that I do. This is deep dive. It's comprehensive. But these are all the things that you're going to one seminar and having a dinner for that one little nugget, right? And then you're going to go to another seminar because that guy's got a good idea. And you can keep going to these seminars for the rest of your life and still never solve any problems. What I'm saying here is you come see me, you come to my seminar, you come to a meeting, you do a full checklist. Now you can enjoy your life. Now you can enjoy your retirement. You're not going to need to go to dinners. You're not going to need to, pull little nuggets from all these different advisors that have some magical product that's going to save your retirement. But you'll be done. You'll be good. You'll be whole. And that's my entire goal.
I would say if you want to take your first step in this process, and it sounds quite thorough but exciting at the same time, I would say head on over to Mark's website. Mark is with, of course, Financial Resources Group out of Glastonbury, Connecticut. Go on his website, www.frplan.com. F as in Frank, frplan.com. And here's that phone number. You can call it right now, 860-657-8380. One more time, 860-657-8380. For Mark Papa, I'm Gary Byron. Thank you so much for listening to On the Mark. Until next Saturday morning. Have a good one, everybody.